Hello, you wonderful people of the internet. I am back again. Of course, my name is Justin. I'm also known as the Cinemaverick. And today I'm going to be talking about the last film in my P.T.A. Ander-Thon, which is, of course, the film that all of this was leading up to. And that film is Inherent Vice, which I just saw yesterday for the first time. And wow, guys, this is something. And I'm saying that as someone who's seen all of Anderson's films now, this is quite a departure for him. Wow. Especially, I mean that in terms of tone. This is a very different tone than anything I've seen from him, and I've seen him change tones with Punch Drunk Love. Really compared to anything in his filmography, this is a very different piece of work from P.T.A. And I'll be honest with you, I'm going to say right up front, I am planning on rewatching this film because I was really confounded when I walked out of this screening. Wow, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot I liked. There's a lot of parts where I was kind of scratching my head, wondering what was going on. And I try to be, as someone who wants to, who wants to try to be serious about film criticism. It's hard to just. I try to go beyond and say, okay, this is confusing me. Well, what questions do I need to ask about this movie? And with this movie, I just found myself going, wow, what's going on? What does all this mean? What does any of this have to do with what we just saw before? Let me just dive right in. This film is based on a Thomas Pynchon novel, fairly recent novel from 2009, I believe, and it really is takes place in 1970, takes place in Los Angeles, sort of a beach community, and follows Joaquin Phoenix, who plays Larry Doc Sportello, who is a private investigator. Who is certainly not a stranger to the cannabis or other mind-inducing drugs, and it's kind of about him investigating this case that's brought on by his ex-girlfriend, whose name is Shasta, played by Catherine Waterston, who's really terrific here and totally got slighted with the Academy Awards, but I won't go into that right now. Anyway. This is that story, and it really is about Doc going through Los Angeles, checking out some leads, trying to find what's going on. She comes to him with a request. Her current lover, who is married, is apparently going to be thrown into an insane asylum by his current wife and her lover. Yeah, if that sounds confusing to you, wait until you see the movie. Wow, there is this. Let me start by talking about what I really liked about this movie. I love the look of this movie. It's fantastic. It has some of the best cinematography, if not the best cinematography I've seen all year. It really has this kind of there's really like a gloss to the way this film looks. It looks like you almost want to say it came out of the 70s. That's how good it is. That's how authentic it is. The attention to detail in this, which is certainly no stranger to Anderson, it's something I've been really impressed with him with his films. There'll Be Blood, I think, did that very well. Boogie Nights, especially the late 1970s, early 80s in the San Fernando Valley. I thought that showed a real attention to detail, which I think is due to him certainly, but also due to his costume designers, his art directors, production designs, set decoration, cinematography. Just wow, the talent that he gets for these movies and how authentic they are is really astounding. And I just think it's so evocative of this time and place, and it just has such a confidence in itself. So I really like that. I really like a lot of the performances in this movie. There's really no weak performance in this movie. Joaquin Phoenix is really strong here. He is playing this guy who's not always doesn't always seem to be there. He kind of plays like a lovable stoner character. Not quite like the dude from Big Lebowski. A little bit, I'd say, pretty different from that. He's a little more out of it, I'd say, than even the dude was. and he really is. I think he also hides kind of a dark side, and it's really interesting in this film to see to guess what if what you're seeing is just Doc's like just his like mind altered um, perception of what's actually like because of the drugs he's on, literally and figuratively, what you're seeing is necessarily real or part of his drug-induced imagination. There's certainly a lot of references to hallucination in this film, and oh wow, I'll get to the plot in a second. I'll get to that in time. I also want to give a shout out to Josh Brolin, fantastic here, really playing this detective whose nickname is Bigfoot. There's a really great description of him, like of him having a twinkle in his eye that just said civil rights violations or something like that. He's just a really clean cut, crew cut, just the polar opposite to Doc in every way, and they have kind of like a love-hate relationship. They definitely have a grudging respect for one another, which is a thing I really like. And I just love Josh Brolin. I think just brings this masculine vulnerability to this character that's really really affecting. There's a scene very late in the film that occurs. I think he just absolutely nails without overplaying it. Well, let's get into. So those are definitely the stuff that I liked. I wanted to sort of talk about the things I didn't like as much. And let me get into this plot. Now, one of the things I felt with P.T.A.'s other work, particularly his last 3 films, especially the last 2, There Will Be Blood and The Master, actually, those 2 films were so, I feel like, plotless in a lot of ways, even though there may have been a plot going on, but it's not really the focus. The focus was really on the characters, and I feel like what that enabled was it really enabled us to focus on the characters. And here, I feel like this film is maybe a character study masquerading as a convoluted plot. So in that way, I really want to connect it to another film that I think was definitely an influence on this one, which is The Big Sleep, the Howard Hawks film based on the Raymond Chandler novel, which also had a similar in terms of its convolutions and all the different people who were involved, with all the new characters that kept popping up and all the new alliances that kept changing. It's definitely similar to the one here in Inherent Vice, but that film, while it had all those convolutions, was really about the relationship between the Humphrey Bogart character, who was the private detective, and the Vivian Rutledge character, who was sort of like the femme fatale, whose alliances kept shifting as the film went on. It really was, I think, more a study of their relationship, and that's why I think that film is so good, is because it really is about, it really does use all these different plot machinations to really illuminate the developing relationship between Humphrey Bogart's character, Philip Marlowe, and the Vivian Rutledge character played by Lauren Bacall. In this film, though, makes the convoluted plot in The Big Sleep look like as easy to follow as like a Saturday morning cartoon by comparison. Wow, we have Nazis, we have heroin cartels, we have strip malls that end up just becoming, massage parlors that end up just becoming brothels. We have dentists who are involved and are apparently shagging every young woman they can. Oh my god, I don't know where to start with this movie. It's really, and it wouldn't be so bad if it's not just that there's a convoluted plot in this film. It's that it's very, so it can be hard to follow sometimes to figure out, okay, wait, who was that guy working for again? Wait, who was this person? They're throwing a lot of information at you from a lot of different directions. And that can be really, and you don't even know whether to trust what a person is telling you or not. So it's definitely hard to follow. That said, I don't want to say I do want to watch it again because I do want to see if I can. I don't know if it's. I'm almost. You get to a point where you wonder is it really about the plot anymore, or is it just about the main character's perception of everything that's going on around? It's supposed to be this crazy and this unfathomable. I mean, when you get to the end, I still had so many questions about, wait, who was that person? So that person was working for that person, and this other person was just a red herring, I guess. And we never saw them again. So I guess they're a red herring. It's just, oh my gosh. And I guess I was hoping that was going to be a little more compelling. That said, I do think the film goes, like, really does call into question what you're seeing a lot, which makes me want to revisit this film. One, because I did like the world in which it takes place. I was fascinated by it. I feel like I want to see more details the next time. I really want to watch his frame compositions because, wow, the level of detail is phenomenal. And I guess I want to see if it is more about Doc and his perception of what's happening. And if everything that's happening is real. I mean, there's times where something happens and you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem consistent with what we've seen from this character. And I think you can call into question a lot that happens based on, because there is so much ambiguity and so much fogginess, and I mean that figuratively and literally, that it's hard to keep track of everything, but maybe that's part of the point. So I do like how the movie does seem to be kind of like stoned itself, but it does make it that much harder to follow, and I don't know if it's just about kind of going along with the ride and just picking apart these characters, because we do get some really fascinating characters in this movie. At this point, I really am jumping all over the place, kind of like the movie itself. I do want to say there is a scene in this movie, and I think it's consistent with other scenes in Anderson's work, where you have a scene that really, I think, if not completely defines the film, at least it gives you something to go on. It becomes a really important part of the film as a sort of a microcosm of what the film is about. And The Master had that wonderful scene toward the end where they're racing the motorcycle across the desert flats, and you really got to see Philip Seymour Hoffman's character Lancaster Dodd on the motorcycle, and how it was for him, it was about picking a point and just driving toward it, and that was enough, which I think was consistent with the way he approached the religion, his career choice. Of just really going for it, not really caring about, just really focusing on that point and not focusing as much on what it took to get there. And whereas the Joaquin Phoenix character, Freddie Quell, he just keeps going. He doesn't seem to have any particular point in mind, which I think is very consistent with his personality. So, and that, I think, gives you a nice picture of their relationship and how they are similar and how they're different. Here we have a scene where there's a memory in which Doc remembers a time with his girlfriend Shasta where they were looking to score some drugs, and they decided to consult the Ouija board. And it takes us to this random location. There are no drugs there at all, and it just kind of ends up being like it's not even about the drugs anymore. It's just about the two of them like giddily laughing in the rain and just having that experience. And I wonder if that's part of the key to this movie, maybe. Like, it's not about, maybe it really is not about the plot. Because I'll tell you, there's stuff that happens with the plot that really makes you question whether what you're seeing is just in Doc's mind or if it's actually happening. Maybe I shouldn't get into some of the spoilers, but there's stuff that happens that really makes you question, like, wait, really? So, yeah, that, I think that scene with the Ouija board really does, maybe holds the key to this film. Like I said, I do want to see this film again. I'm sort of reserving judgment on it right now. I can say I'm sort of like in the middle on this film, at least at this point. just simply because I haven't had to deal with a movie like this year, or even in Anderson's filmography. So, I am, I think, confident enough in myself to say that no, I did not quite understand this film, what it was going for yet. I think I've touched upon some of the stuff that I think is going on, but I haven't really been able to define what it all means and make it all come together like I feel I have with some of his other movies, or at least had some idea about. Not that I want to simplify any of his works, or any film for that matter. But I do want to say that this film, bear in mind, this is a very convoluted plot. I can't see this film doing very well at the box office. I don't think it is doing very well right now, and I'm not surprised. The screening I was in, there were 6 people total, including me. There's 2 couples, and my friend and I, and one couple walked out halfway through the movie, and I can't say I necessarily blamed them. But man, there's so many fascinating things going on, and I can't quite put my finger on what they all mean yet. So, I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave you with that really somewhat ambivalent review of Inherent Vice, or at least reaction to Inherent Vice. Who knows? I am planning to watch it again. In addition, this film and Birdman are the 2 films I want to revisit from this year before I make my best of list. So that is my very long, convoluted take on Inherent Vice, which I do want to say, I don't know if I should recommend it or not. It's certainly not going to be for everybody, even considering his other movies. But it is kind of just a fascinating curiosity, and I do want to encourage people, if you do see this movie, see it with somebody else and talk about it, which is really true of any of his movies, but especially this one. At least you can sort of try to get a handle on what's going on in the plot, because it's complicated. So yeah, guys, that is kind of my take on Inherent Vice. Who knows, maybe once I see it again, I'll be able to clarify some of my thoughts, but for now, I think that's where I'm going to leave it. So that concludes my P.T. Ander-Thon. I may do something fun for this whole marathon, maybe give my favorite performances, maybe my favorite overall film, stuff like that. So I might be doing that in the next week or so. So yeah, thank you for watching. I realize this video went much longer than any of his other ones, but I really wanted to devote the time to wrapping my head around this movie. So thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.